So, good morning. Thank you for being here for me. And now I want just to explain you something more than the previous lecture. Indeed, the title of this presentation is Inside the Biomechanical System for the Equine for Limb. Just don't forget I'm a farrier, and the farrier is a very old art because it's a mix from craftsmen and science that is constantly improving during the century, because the farrier is very curious and they like to improve their tools. So it's right here. I'm very curious too and ingenious because I want to find some solution about my job. It's amazing because the farrier is all the art. Maybe they have close in mind, but their instinct is always to improve the material on the kind of showing, and with the good way to improve themselves, they try to, at the same time, to maximize the horse performance. Now, the sports horses is a very big problem, because now the horses is competing high-level performance competition at a very young age. This is my customer, Emanuele Gaudiano. He's living in Germany. In Rome, he's competed jumping competition. In Rome,
He's young.
the horse is young, also the rider young too. And in Rome, there is a competition. The last day, this competition, you have to jump one fence. It's called the wall. And he jumped the fence. He earned a lot of money. He jumped it. It was he jumped it 2 meters and 25 centimeters. And jumping this, okay, the competition had to stop 2 meters and 20. If you are able to jump 5 centimeters higher than 2 meters and 20, you win the double of prize. The price was 500,000 euro. Jumping 5 centimeters more, you won 100,000 euro. So my customer won a lot of money, but the cost of my shoe was always the same. This didn't change. But the big problem is that this horse Italic jumped this higher fence at 8 years old. It's amazing. Mm-hmm. So, when horse is competing at a very young age, this means that the demand of a training session exceeds every time the physical capacity. And this means that the horse is predisposed to injury and lameness. And the farrier is a big problem, because the farrier is in trouble, because the goal of the farrier is to help and preserve the horse welfare and health. But at the same time, they have to help the horse to perform better, because it is sponsor priority. The trainer asked the farrier to do this. So to make the combination of to preserve the horses or to improve their performance is a very good problem for farriers, because our instinct is to preserve the health of the horses. But if we want to work in sport horses, you have to find a way to satisfy the sponsor priority. So another, for me, problem for the farrier, and they when see the horses. Vet and farrier normally are more interesting to analyze the horses only when they see the horses is losing the performance or broken. But for me, it's too late, because you don't know the story of a horse before, and this is not good. And it's not good to talk about biomechanics, because you didn't know the horse before, but you are interested only when the problems is happening. So the approach to analyze horses when it's lame or it's losing performance is the same in every country. The first analysis is the horse to be standing square. You can see the horses. You see the horse on the front. This horse is Morgese, is competing dressage horse. The shoeing is 8 weeks old. You can see the height of the limbs. This is the horse that I shoe regularly, and the area is a murgia. So you can see the horse in the front. You try to find some abnormalities of conformation. You can see a horse in lateral view. Is my brother is older than me. He's a Farrier too.
Older than you, yeah.
Yes, it's shorter than me. It's true. You see, it's a wonderful bare stomach. I mean, okay. You know this. So you can see the horses on a lateral view, and after that you focus on what you want to see better. For example, you can see you can focus on lateral view mainly in the front limb. After that, you move back the horse, and you see what is happening. I like to see the front limbs from the back, because from the back you can see better the real bed conformation. Mainly on the left limb, you can see that the cannon bone is offset from the carpus. You can see the angles it forms from the cannon bone, femoral joint, the pastern, and the hoops. You can see better the bed direction of the limb. That is not the same way you see the horse on the front. For me, if you understand better the formation of the limb, I like to see the front limb from the back. Yes, okay. This is what we see before two horses when his Luskin performance is broken, and this is when horse is extended square. But it's very useful to see horses when it's moving. This is the approach that we see. We see the horse always on the front. To see mainly it use this kind of view to understand if the horse is lame or not, or is short during the movements. I'm from.
Domenico, your short fat brother's a good runner.
What?
Your short fat brother is a good runner.
Yeah, no. Indeed, he's hitting me because he has his customer, and Michael can help me one day. Okay, he was happy at the beginning. After that, fuck you. I prefer to show horses. He repeat every time. He's a good, good performer. So when the front limb, you try to understand if the horse is lame or not. After that, you see the horses from the back. And for me, there isn't a lot of abnormalities, and this is the first approach. After that, some people, like me, I like to see horse on a lateral view, because I like to see horses in a lateral view because I can understand if the forelimb is symmetric with the front limb, if the hind limb move back of the body, so the front limb can relieve, because it's a dressage horse. I like to understand how they moves in a lateral view. My brother started now, he stopped.
Yeah.
So the other approach is to lunging the horses on the left hand. I like to test the horse before on arms to face, and want to understand if the horse is comfortable when he's turning. You can see the horse is a little bit lame. He's not feeling comfortable. Just a few minutes after that, he's more fluent. I can say that the horse is uncomfortable when the shoeing gets older.
Okay.
So these white dogs, we breed these dogs because they fight the wolf. It's a very huge. Mainly the male is very huge. They fight the wolves.
They guard the sheep. Yeah?
Yeah. When in the morning they are very quiet. If you move in the same place in the night, you take care of them. They can kill you. So this is one hand, and you can see it on right hand. You can see the horse is always uncomfortable at the beginning of the movements. After that, he feels better. So after that, it's good if it is possible to change the place, mainly if we want to test it the horses in soft surface. You can see the horses more fluent. And I want to say you that in my area is very dry, it's very warm in the summer. The video that I made is in the summer, and the sand here is not more softer than hard surface. It's completely plenty hard, but the horse is performing better in the sand. So I have a lot of information. And also, if you see on the right hand, you can see horses performing well, and just at the beginning, its movement beautiful than on hard surface. This is the basic information that the farrier have to learn when you shoe horses. It's important you know this information before the horse is lame or losing performance. When I was in France with some very good vet clinics, they try when a horse is moving in circle. They move. They are in the middle from the asphalt and the sand, because they see immediately when horse is moving in the sand, the reaction, and when they change the surface, the reaction of the horses in the half cycle on the hard surface. This,
The circle is part hard and
yeah. Immediately they say yes, because they want to understand if the horse is sensitive or not.
yeah.
Changing the ground immediately. This was seen in France. I don't know in other nations is the same. So this we have analyzed horses is moving. After that, there was an instrumental diagnosis, and the first approach in the field is the X-ray analysis. Because with the X-ray analysis, we try to give a look inside in a structure. And this is the X-ray. And here there is Monique and John. I'm using Metron to make measurements. It's amazing because you can achieve a lot of information about the forelimb and the parameters you can collect on lateral medial view. Is more or less 22. Is right? Yeah. But I'm always unhappy because for me it is enough, because with this static X-ray picture we diagnose, we plan trimming and shoeing, but the problem is static. We don't know what happened when horse is moving. Because if the horse is standing square or the horse is in the pasture, they have a problem. The problem, sport horses have a problem because it's performing there, because they are jumping, because you're running, or they are competing, making competition like this. Dressage is a very stressful competition for horses. So, as I said before, X-ray picture is static and has a big limitation for me because it does not predict the real effect on the anatomical structures of this limb in motion. So after that, I'm a very curious, ingenious farrier. I built Cellaro Dynamic for Limb, CDF, and I reproduce a stance face of gait. I reproduce stance face of gait because it's the dangerous part of the stride of the horses, and the only part where the forelimb has a higher risk of injury. And for Billy or for other people that there was in the last days, I can apply on the forelimb the horse body weight that is acting during the walk, trot, candle, landing from jumping. So I can analyze all the interaction of the structure of the forelimb.
Is that both secured to that?
No, okay, good question. This is a very good question. I'm a lucky boy because I've met Christopher Pollitt, Jean-Marie Denois, and many experts. And now, 10 years ago, when I tried to build my machine, the first thing they say, please, when you give the load to the forelimb, you need to anchor the toe, because when you apply just in an axial way, the forelimb slips away. But in my brain, I said, okay, if I stop the toe, I anchor the toe, it's not real. And so the effect is not closer to reality, and the study is not good for me. So I found a way to apply the load without the horse foot slips from the powder block. And understand it's very important to produce also the muscles, because if you see many scientific study, they have no muscle, the tendon are free. But the interaction of the forelimb is not real. You cannot understand what is happening because the tendon are free. The tendon have to be connected with the muscle, because if you move your hands, because the muscle gives the inputs to the tendons, your hands moves, because the tendons is the elongament of the muscle. And in the horses, the tendons is very long because the muscle is upper this part. This pipe reproduces the radius, this cap reproduces the carpus, and this clamber connected to the superficial digital flexor muscle and deep digital flexor muscle, and also the accessory ligaments of superficial digital flexor tendon, because the forelimb is resecting this area, and I lost that ligament. But for me, it's important because that ligaments help to superficial to support the strength and the stress of the forelimb. It's clear for you, Billy and Monique? It's clear?
Yeah.
Okay. My real goal is to develop a new dynamic visual approach, because we need to understand what is happening when the horse is moving, and the moving and mainly during distance phase, because the swing phase is changed from horses to horses, and the change depends on conformation. Upright feet has not very extended throat, is shorter. And for me to analyze the movement of whole horses, it's good to see mechanical analysis like the slow motion camera is another study. But if you understand the interaction of the forelimb, you have to use my machine, because the biomechanical study has limitation. They explain the movements of the bones, but they don't explain what is happening inside the forelimb. But in my study, I'm using the X-ray picture, because every farrier today is able to read the X-ray picture, and this is the first standard examination tool you have on the field. And I want to use this kind of combination. So here, you can see like Tuesday, why it doesn't work? Now it's working. So with my machine, you can see, no, it's not working. Normally it moves always. Okay. So with the machine, with the X-ray that I can have with my study, you can see the forelimb is moving. You can see the bones is moving. And on this video, I just only summarize some parameters of the metron measurement, because there are too many measurements, but you lose the opportunity to see the bones moving. And this is my way to develop a new educational approach for farrier, because I know that farrier are a little bit lazy, and they don't read books, and sometimes books is written with not easy phrase or words that the farrier can understand quickly. So I'm doing this because it's written in every book that the forelimb injuries are one of the main and the most important problems that affect horses. We know this because we are farrier or we are vets, and we repeat this sentence every time. But I'm very curious why the forelimb is always the main problem for horses. So this is why I built my machine. So for a better understanding, it's useful to compare the anatomy. All the knowledge that we have on horses, it comes from human. So we have the legs of human, the first one with the muscles, and the second one you have the bones. You can see the alignment of the limb, the limb and the bones are very straight. In Italy, we use this terminology that this kind of conformation is a colonnum conformation, because it's a very strong and support the weight of the body. And with this kind of distribution, you can support everything. It's very strong. It's very difficult to destroy it if you think this kind of column support the roof and house. Now we compare the human limb with the forelimb. Also, the forelimb as a part is a colonnum, but the part of a colonnum is just from the hub to the fetlock, because you can see the bones are completely straight. So this part is very strong, but we have an angle. This fetlock joint angle. It is a deviation. This means that this column is suspended in the air. It's try always to collapse, because if you try to put a support in a diagonal way, it's fall down. Is the law. So I'm a friend with Renata Weller, and he made a lot of study, because I said before, the study for horses is as a human region, and the limbs of the human is a good combination, because humans has straight legs, and the ground reaction force goes straight up to the leg with all structures are heavily loaded. This is good for us, because human has less injury than horses. So now we analyze the equine forelimb. So on the radius on the forelimb is when it's applied the load, the equine body weight. You can see here that we increase the fetlock joint angle, and increasing the fetlock joint angle, all the suspensory structures of the forelimb undergoes higher tension. So, if you see when you apply the load, you can see with your eyes what is happening. Without these tendons, the bones collapse, fall down, and broken. This is why the suspensory part is always high risk of injury. But it's not enough, because another goal of my machine, my study, is to understand the interaction of the structures, because it's very important, because we have not only two tendons, we have tendons, ligaments, and interaction with other, interaction with the bones, or other structure of the forelimb. This is my goal. Now we can see the interaction between the forelimb load, the superficial flexor tendon, and deep digital flexor tendon. I'm using kilogram to understand the tension, because if I want to use the scientific terminology, they use Newton. I don't understand what it means, Newton. 1,000 units, what it means is huge, is not huge. But when the kilogram is something that you practice every day, so you can see the tension of the tendon here is expressed in kilograms. So this graph you can see on the red spot is represented the load. The white is the superficial digital flexor tendon, and the yellow deep digital flexor tendon. And we can see how they interact during the stance phase gait. On the walk, you can see the tension of the load is acting on the forelimb is very high. as well the superficial. At the deep digital flexor tendon, the tension is lower. So during the stance phase, it's happening this because the load is decreasing because the forelimb is moving toward the breakover. So the tension and the load decrease. After that, the breakover, there is the extensor tendon, extensor muscle that have the function to protect the forelimb for the next stance phase. And of course, we have a dynamic simulation. You can see with your eyes when the horse is moving and the interaction between the equine forelimb load is acting on the forelimb and the interaction of the tendons.
I have a question for you.
Please.
Did you study the same dynamics on a loading phase?
What means loading?
The limb is loading,
Yeah.
and then we have the stance phase, and then we have the breakover, right?
Yeah.
I only see it from stance phase forward. This is stance
Yes.
and off, yeah?
Yes. Before the heel is the stance phase stops when heel is leaving the podoblock. It's a breakover.
I think what you mean, if you brought the animal more back.
The load.
Mm-hmm.
An
Impact.
No, I can reproduce impact.
Okay.
To produce impact, I need to reproduce the swing phase. I can do that.
Okay.
This is a limitation. I can, because with impact, you have the braking phase. This impact and the full contact. You are right. I can produce only the full contact. But full contact is one step of the braking phase.
Yeah.
So the tension is higher on the impact, but I cannot reproduce. Everything has a limitation. But for me, my goal is to explain the principle.
Okay.
Because every scientific study has a limitation. For example, the data collection that I can achieve with a machine is not the law. We need to test it on live horses.
Okay.
It's just something in the middle.
And it looks like right about there, the almost all tendons go weightless.
Weightless?
See this, like there, you're zero.
Yes, because it when is okay. On live horses, the muscle has a role. When the horse foot is touching the ground, the muscles has a passive function. It's not active. Just they is contract because they have to pull the tendon in tension, because they need this tension that because it helps to contrast the flat block when it's collapsing, try to collapse. After that, there is the muscle when the forelimb is moving toward the back cover, the muscle has less contract. It's becoming active. During the swing phase, is not active. Is becoming active when it's trying to prepare the next stride and to for impact. In this way, is active because there is they have the impulse to the tendons to be very tight. Is too tight because they have the direction of the bones. If it's too rigid, to be impact the ground. So after that, you need to understand the muscle function. So it's normal. Yes, if you feel the tendon is always tight, but it's tight because also the horse is standing. If you the weight is acting on the forelimb, it's nothing, more or less. It's more or less on one limb is 30% of the body weight, because normally the front part of the horses they have the 6% of the horse body weight. If you divide from one limb, is 30%. So the weight is nothing, but you feel the tendon are tight, but there isn't load there. It's just because in standing position they are in equilibrium, they support the body. That's it.
Excuse me, have you ever seen any indication that there's increased tension on the deep flexor tendon at breakover?
I don't understand.
You have like your load.
Yeah.
And you get to where the heels are off the ground.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Have you seen any indication there's an increased tension on
No.
the deep flexor?
No, no, no. Because when the horse is moving toward the breakover, all the suspensory apparatus is not working because it's not supporting the collapsing of the fetlock. If you see the fetlock, it's becoming straight. When there is the impact, the fetlock go down. If you see the picture of the thoroughbred is running, you can see that the forelimb is touching the ground. You can see the fetlock is touching the ground. And in this way, the tendon has higher stress. But when the horse is moving toward the breakover, the tendons are not tight. Maybe on my laptop, I have a video from Denis Levaillard, he's a French farrier, and he make a slow motion video of the racing horse. It's incredible. He was on a lateral view, and the horses passed in front of him. After that, he turned the camera and see the tendons. When the tendons is closer to breakover, you can see the tendon is a vibration because there is no tension. But when you see this slow motion video on lateral view, you can see that the tendon is very tight, because it's supporting, it's contrasting the bones and the collapsing of the forelimb.
Just extending that question, when you have a horse that has a navicular problem, navicular bone pain, and he's just at the walk, so he's just walking, the posterior phase of that stride is shortened.
Yeah.
It's classic.
Why?
Well, because that tendon is getting a little bit, this is how I always conceptualize it. The deep flexor tendon.
To be honest, the horse is shorting when he's walking, because something is painful for the horses. When you talk about navicular bone, it's because the superficial flexor is compressing the bone.
Yes.
So when
It must have some tension.
the painful part is in impact. The impact, the horse cannot avoid the impact. Doesn't matter it's walk, trot, or canter, because when you have to walk, you have to impact. You impact as a human. You have some problem with your knee, but the impact you have to give a load on your limb. But your limb is painful. It doesn't matter it's the foot or knee or some muscle, but the impact is normal, but the step after is shorter, because you need to move your body weight on your sound limb. This is like human.
Okay, I'm just a little bit surprised that there's, in this model.
Yes, because when the vet's books, they is written maybe many years ago, they repeat in the anatomic function of the tendons. Indeed, now there are many good vets like Renata Weller or Jermaine Denois. They are studying, they are analyzing what is happened inside of capsule. For example, a long time ago, when you see the horses galloping and drawing, you can see the extent of the limb. And for maybe centuries, everyone thought that when a horse is galloping, it's extended limb, it's suspension. But Edward Muybridge in 1878, they invented more or less slow motion, but horse is galloping is not in this position. Is in another position. The forelimb is closer to the body, and when there is an extension, there is always one limb is touching the ground. Because it's changed. Because Muybridge gave another tools to see what the human eye is impossible to see it. This is what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to see something that the human eye cannot see. It is my job, or what the scientists are doing during daily work in university.
So there's 6 X-rays there, I think, are there?
What?
6 different X-rays?
Yes.
How long did it take to take those X-rays?
Depends on you have to develop a protocol. The protocol have to be the same, because have to be repeatable, standardized, because you need to compare. So at the beginning, I thought the key information it was to the breakover. So the first step is shorter. The step of the breakover it was more analyzed. But during my preliminary study, it's okay. But higher tension is during the impact. In my case, the full impact. So I need to change the protocol to analyze better many steps of from the full contact to the mid-stance phase, because it is the part of the stance where there is a lot of tension and load on the forelimb. But it's very important the protocol is be standardized and repeatable. Only in this way you can compare different limb conformation. You can, test the horseshoes, breakover, whatever you want. But the protocol is the same condition. It is to be repeatable, and after that you can compare the results. So now is what we are talking before. So the suspensory apparatus, like superficial, deep digital flexor tendon, suspensory ligaments, everything is the palmar aspect of the forelimb, undergoes extreme tension during the breaking phase. I've said before, I cannot reproduce impact phase, but full contact is a part of the breaking phase. And you can see here that the tension of the load, the tension of the tendons is very high. So I compare this information with the information is written in the scientific paper is the same. So I have the opportunity that I can say my machine is a good validation because it's closer to the reality. It's not exactly because I am not the impact, but it's closer. So CDF helps to analyze small or fast changes of internal structure of the forelimb in movement that are invisible to human eye. Okay? When you are able to understand what is invisible to human eye, it's useful because you have the knowledge to identify the factors that influence the interaction between the internal structure of the forelimb. So, during my analysis, I want to be honest, I had the problem to find the interaction of the structures, because to read, to make interpretation of the data collection, it's a big problem for everyone. So I was unhappy because I couldn't find the correlation between, we say, the interaction of the forelimb. So one day at home, I turned on my laptop just to see the movement of X-ray picture, the motion, without measurements. And oh my God, I forget something, because with the metron I make measurement on this part. But I don't know what happened about the fetlock. So I myself introduced another parameter. So I introduce the third center of rotation and make the measurements of the fetlock joint. Now we can analyze only the breaking phase from the walk, trotter, canter, landing, from jumping, and in this way we can see the interaction of fetlock joint angle is this red point, deep digital flexor tendon, and superficial. So you can see the tension here on walk. On the trot, the weight is acting on the forelimb is higher. You can see the tension here is 300 kilogram and more or less 150 kilograms. And when you just look at the fetlock, this will explain to you. Because when you cannot see what's happening inside, you cannot understand. You have an idea, you have an opinion, but you can see. You can see here that fetlock joint, the angle is increasing. Increasing the angle, the tendons are increasing. Remember, we are just analyzing the dangerous part of the stance phase. It's the breaking phase. You can see here, the fetlock is increasing, the tension becomes higher.
So when we're measuring the tension on the deflexor, you're only measuring the proximal part of the deflexor above.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, yes. I can measure what is happening on the clamp.
Right, so we still have that, the check ligament attached to the deep flexor tendon?
The check ligament, yes, is on the deep digital flexor tendon, is attached.
Yes.
On the superficial, I reproduce artificially because the accessory ligaments of superficial tendon is essential because they tight the superficial to the bones, helps to support the limbs.
Right. So when you have a fall, for example, of the club foot or something,
Yeah.
you know, even if it's a cadaver, you can cut the deep flexor
Tendon.
muscle.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes, and
It's good.
still, you cannot extend that toe unless you cut the check ligament down
Mhm.
lower. So I don't know if the measurement of the tension of the deep flexor.
Okay, when yeah, you are right. The measurements of the deep digital flexor tendon is included with the accessory ligaments in my study. In superficial, I've not the accessory ligaments of the superficial, so I needed to reduce it artificially. So you are right. So this was happening during the breaking phase. But I can achieve this information because I've introduced another parameters. This parameter help me to understand what's happening and why the tendons is so tensioned during the break phase.
At the top of the tendons, so you clamp to them,
Yeah.
and then are they connected? You can adjust the tension with a mechanism, or you have a motor that can actively.
Yes, I can change the tension because, okay, now we are going inside the protocol. In this Congress, I'm not talking about the protocol because it's a scientific stuff. Because I think that the Farrier want to understand something more what is useful for them. Yes, when I want to start with my study, the forelimb is put in the mid-distance phase, because only mid-distance phase I can control a load. In mid-distance phase, I give the tension of the superficial digital flexor tendon. The tension that I give to the tendons, the tension is because I'm tensioning the muscles, is the same tension that I found in some scientific paper on live horses. After that, I can apply the load of the work. After that, when I apply the load, because I know exactly which load I'm applying, I move the forelimb toward the full contact. From the full contact, it begins my study, because on a position I can verify exactly the load of the tendons, and the weight is on a mid-distance phase. But the tension are tensioning just once at work. After that, when I reproduce distance phase of work, I move my machine in the mid-distance phase and apply only the horse body weight and not touch the tendon, because the tendon is just tensioned once. And after that, I can see the reaction of the tendons during the stance phase of gait. It's okay?
In your next machine, would it be nice to have motors that can alter to sort of simulate the muscle action, the muscles being more active?
It's your job. It's robotic. It's your job. You will be my best friend. Don't worry. I move in California.
Build it, he will come.
What?
After we're finished with them.
Okay.
We have a lot of beach volleyball in California.
Yes and no. But they are the best beach volley player there. You cannot compete with them. So conclusion: the fetlock joint try to collapse because there's a gravity force, and the body weight of horses is acting on the forelimb, and the tendons hold against the force that is trying to collapse. In few words, the function is this: the gravity and the horse body weight try to collapse these joints, and the tendons they contrast with the force of the tension of the muscle against the ground action, the gravity and also body weight. This is not happen only for the forelimb. It's a natural law. In my place, it's common to see this olive tree. These are very old, centuries, and they have this kind of shape, a lot of them, mainly in the area closer to the sea. And without this support, they collapse. So, it's the same, it's natural law. You can see another one here. So the people, just to avoid to lose this olive tree because it's very old, it's a huge story, they help the olive tree. So if you move at my place, you can see there are a lot of this. It's natural law, because if something is not like a column, they try to collapse.
Yeah.
Now, this is something that there is a lot of discussion, meaning this is sand, and we have a footprint in the sand. I'm a farrier, and when the farrier or the vets see the footprint, they talk about everything. The horse loading this way, you can see the heel is unloaded, blah, 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 blah. But just opinion, a point of view, because we are unable to see what's happened when horse is in contact with the sand. So my machine can help to understand what is happening of the hoof print in the soft soil, and because it's invisible for a human eye. So this is my machine. I make some modification. You can see the basket here with the sand. Because I'm farrier, I'm curious. Mm-hmm. Well, another way to understand something is to compare. So I compare the same limb on the podder block, hard surface, the same limb on soft soil. You can see here P2D is same here. P2D helps to me to identify the gate, the position of the stand face gate. They are the same. But it's important to put the horse foot always in the same position. Are there some numbers on the lateral medial view and the front view? Because I built a matrix, there are some markers on the foot, so I have the coordinate to apply the foot always in the same position. For example, analyze this forelimb without horseshoes. I want to apply the horseshoes, but I need to put the horse foot in the same position. I have the same marker, and I have the coordinates, and can apply the horse foot on the podder block. This happens always on the basket, because if you see here, I'll draw the line. There is correspondence line with a number, also in the lateral view and also palmar view. I can apply more or less exactly, because it's sand, those foot in the same position. And you can compare. Only comparing you understand what is happening. So, with X-ray it's possible to compare everything. It's immediately you can understand. Here the fetlock joint is 33. Here is 38. This means that the tension on hard surface is lower on the soft surface. The deep digital flexor tendon is 169. The deep digital flexor is 282. It's more tensioning. And the superficial digital flexor tendon here is 310 kilograms. Here are 452 kilograms. It's change. But only thing is change is the soil, because this horse foot has not horseshoes beneath the please.
Question, the forelimb load on the hard ground is 310 kilos, and on the soft is 367.
Mm-hmm.
Is that because when the ground is softer, the load increases automatically?
There is always an explanation. The explanation is explain you later in the next slides.
Sorry.
good student.
Get ahead of yourself.
So now you can see more or less the dynamic motion of comparing the hard surface with the soft soil. You can see what is happening during locomotion, comparing the two different surfaces. So, summarizing the data collection, we can see that superficial digital flexor tendon is always more tensioned than deep. Also, in the soft surface, the superficial is always higher than deep. And comparing the hard with soft, on the soft, the superficial is superficial digital flexor tendon is more tensioned than superficial digital flexor on hard, and deep digital flexor tendon is more tensioned on soft surface than hard. So, summarizing data collection, SDFT is always more tensioned than deep digital flexor tendon. Why? You know why? Why? This explanation, I have to say thank you to Renata Weller, because they are scientists, they analyze also the tissue. The structure's ability to withstand the forces is determined by its structural properties, which in turn depends on its material properties and its dimension. SDFT has the same material properties of a digital flexor tendon, but its dimensions are smaller than digital flexor tendon. Maybe it's 1/3 smaller. So this way, because superficial digital flexor tendon is always broken than deep. It's very rare that deep digital flexor tendon is injured or is broken. So now we take care about some observation. The Farrier is daily we are focused on the distal forelimb, because our job we pick up those foot and we pay attention only in this area. You can see this on the photos, and you can see it on with the X-ray picture. And all with the photo, with the X-ray picture, we plan a corrective trimming and shoeing, because our idea is to change the Parma angle. This is the goal of the Farrier, because the Farrier won't change every time something. And yes, because we want to do a better job than our competitors, and we are bad boys. So we think to change the P3. But today, I tell you, are you sure that we change the Parma angle? It's possible, but not with the standard shoeing. It takes a lot of knowledge. It's possible to change a little bit the Parma angle. Now, I'll give you the explanation. We have the same limb with different surface. If you see here, the Parma angle on hard is 80.3, and the Parma angle is 10. North shoes beneath the feet. The Parma angle is higher.
When you're measuring the Parma angle, you're loaded at mid-stance right now exactly.
Yes, it's the same position. It's the same.
Mid-stance full load.
Yeah, it's the same position, the same condition. Everything is the same. So you can see here the Parma angle is higher than soft surface, because on soft surface the toe rotates in the ground. Drawing the line under the foot, you can see with your eyes. The only thing is changing because the toe is rotating on the soil, and the consequence, the distal limb joint adapts the orientation. You can see this orientation is completely different from this, and you can see here the fetroc joint angle is 33, and here is 38. So, on the soft surface, orientation on the first center of rotation, orientation on the second center of rotation, orientation on the third center of rotation is changed. But if you look here, for you it's beautiful to see the alignment of the bones, because vets and farrier during their daily job, they want to make alignment of these joints, because for us a good shoeing is when you are able to modify these joints. So for us this is awful, for us it's beautiful, but many times when something is beautiful, this something doesn't work. Indeed, this is good alignment of the bones, but we have increased the femoral joint angle is higher. And this means that the tension the tension of the tendons are higher. So you can see here. Here is the deep giral flexion is 169. Here is 282. On hard surface, superficial giral flexor tendon is 310, and on the soft surface, superficial giral flexor tendon is more tension. It's 452 kilograms. So this is what I explained to you. We are talking without able to see which is happening inside the forelimb, and only this way can achieve this information.
Why is the forelimb lobe different?
Why?
Why is the forelimb lobe different from?
I don't understand.
Like it says the forelimb load in the one in this sheet is asking me 310 kilograms, and on the right it's 367 kilograms. Would that change in load have to do with the tension as well?
The tension of the tendon or the tension of the body weight?
Well, the amount
Please.
the amount of force coming down on it.
Yeah.
Wouldn't that increase? You have more force coming down on it.
Yes, because the force is okay. When you apply the force, every time some force is held against to you. So if you change the soil, it changes the forces.
So there's more forces in softer soil.
Yes, you move a difficult way, but yeah, I'm a beach volleyball player. On hard surface, I can perform better because it's hard. I can jump very high. And the sand is good for my back because the sand is not uniform. So when I'm working on the sand, I have the receptors on my feet that give equilibrium to the body. It's a reaction. When try to jump on the sand, depends on the technique, I'm unable to jump so high as hard surface because I have other forces. I make more effort to jump than hard surface because when you are applying some force on the ground, depends what you have underneath your feet. Remember, if you want to understand something for horses, please compare with yourself, because we are animals. We are just on the limbs. The horse is on 4 limbs. Just compare this. So conclusion: planning, corrective trimming, and the shoeing. We influence the fetlock joint, not the palmar angle. As well, the tension of the flexor structures like superficial giral flexor tendon, deep giral flexor tendon, suspensory ligament tendon, everything is on the palmar aspect of the horse foot. But it's important because when we know the interaction of the fetlock joint during the different stance phase of gait, we can modify the fetlock joint angle. If I'm able to modify the fetlock joint angle, we reduce the tension that are acting on the flexor apparatus. But it's not impossible to change the fetlock joint because only changing the surface, the orientation of the bones change. So the right knowledge help to prevent a treat laminates or maximize the horse performance? Well, today there are the breaking news about my study, because I can make a lot of structure measurements of inner structures of the forelimb, because you've seen just deep digital flexor tendon and superficial. But in the forelimb there are a lot of structures. So you think this is a flat horseshoes, and I'm introducing, like measurements, this famous lever arm. With this lever arm, I can make measurements of the length and the angle. Because lever arm is very important, because when you change the shoes, like flat rolling shoes, the lever angle change. Is not more here on the toe, is here. And the lever arm is correlated with the tendons, because this center rotation change, because the lever arm is change, and change the fetlock joint angle and the tendons. So I introduce the measurements of oblique sesamoid ligaments, the straight sesamoid ligaments, the collateral sesamoid ligaments. This is the collateral distal interphalangeal joint ligaments, impar ligaments, these are sesamoid ligaments of navicular bone, suspensor ligaments, and the extensor branches or ligaments. Because for me, it's not enough to understand only what's happened on, you see, on the tendons, but we have a lot of structure here. And my big problem was how can make these measurements. At the beginning, I make a resection of the forelimbs and try to make some instruments to the ligaments. But many times I have to cut away the ligaments are above to make measurements, something was underneath the ligaments. Talking with Renata Weller, she said, okay, Domenico, it's not a real problem, because I'll show you where are the site of the insertion of the ligaments, and just make measurement of the length or the angle, whatever you want, because Metron is very useful for this.
Domenico, it's a great presentation. I'm really sorry, I've got to go and get a plane.
Okay.
I have to fly.
Thank you for your time. Thank you.
See you
Thank you.
somewhere in Italy.
Oh, that's good.
Get your plane.
Yeah.
Fly safe.
Bye.
Safe journey. Bye.
Mhm. And all this information, just to emphasize my machine, are not static, is in movement. So, conclusion, CDF helped to develop a scientific methodological approach that's really useful for the welfare and the health of horses, useful in the field of practical orthopedics for farrier vets. My goal is to move the scientific world for the farrier, and mainly because it have to be useful for farrier, and to find the solution, and to try to develop a different education that is written on the standard vet books. And this is my goal. And my goal is because it was very interesting to treat and prevent injuries for the horses, and understand if you, on your daily work, you are able to feel the horse sound, the horse perform well without other helps, because it's what I understand my daily showing. So, source funding, also this primary study is always full funded by myself. I'm just farrier, and I hope that in the future can cooperate with someone to go on. That's it. Thank you very much.